The Imperial shuttle descended through the clouds of Convergence Point, and Princess Hyan watched the neutral station grow larger through the viewport. Her reflection stared back at her from the glass, 4 eyes pale blue skin and the silver markings of royal blood across her forehead. She looked every bit the Velrothi princess she was born to be, but today she felt like a prisoner. We arrive in 10 minutes, Your Highness, her attendant said softly. The woman's voice carried pity, and Heijin hated that most of all. 3 months ago the war started. Orothi patrol ship fired on a human vessel near the border, or maybe the humans fired first. Nobody could agree on the truth anymore. What everyone knew was that thousands died in the battles that followed. The Velray Empire had superior weapons and larger ships, but the humans fought with a stubborn fury that surprised everyone. Then the politicians decided that more death served no purpose. They needed peace. They needed a symbol. They needed a sacrifice. Heijin was third in line to the throne, important enough to matter, but not so important that her father couldn't spare her. When Empress Xiang Ho told her about the marriage treaty, she didn't argue. A princess served her empire. That was the way of things. The shuttle landed in the diplomatic bay. Jin stepped out in her ceremonial robes. Surrounded by guards, the station buzzed with activity. Aliens from a dozen species moved through the corridors. Traders, diplomats, soldiers on leave. This place existed outside any single government's control. Neutral ground, where enemies could meet without firing weapons. Ambassador Kyongu met her at the entrance to the ceremonial hall. He was old for Athi, his skin darker with age, his movements slow but dignified. He bowed to her. Princess, everything is prepared, and the human? She asked. Kyong-su and LT Uncan GT's face twisted slightly. He waits inside. I must warn you, Highness. He is not what we expected. What does that mean? You will see. They walked through corridors lined with guards from both sides. Velray soldiers in their black armor stood across from humans in their gray uniforms. Nobody smiled. Nobody spoke. The tension felt thick enough to touch. Ceremonial hall was large and cold. Hundreds of witnesses filled the seats. Velray nobles on one side, human officials on the other. At the front, near the altar, a man stood waiting. Heijin stopped walking for a moment. This was her future husband. He was small by Velray standards. Most of her people stood over 7 ft tall. This human barely reached 6 ft. He wore a simple suit, dark blue and plain, no military decorations, no signs of rank. His hair was black and neat. His face was young, maybe 30 in human years. He looked like someone who worked in an office, not a warrior or a leader. That's him, she whispered to Kaiwengu. His name is Taeyang, a cultural liaison they call him, not even a military officer. The ambassador's voice carried clear disapproval. The humans insult us. With this choice, Heijin walked down the aisle, alone as tradition required. Every eye watched her. She kept her face neutral, showing nothing. When she reached the altar, Taeyang turned to face her. His eyes were brown and surprisingly calm. He bowed to her, a gesture of respect in both their cultures. Princess Heijin, he said in perfect. His accent was strained, but understandable. I am honored to meet you, she said. Nothing. What could she say? That she wished she was anywhere else, that this felt like a funeral instead of a wedding. The ceremony began. Orothi priest and a human official took turns. Speaking, they talked about peace and unity and the hope for a better future. Jun barely listened. She spoke her vows. When required, the words tasting like ash in her mouth, Talang spoke his vows. Clearly, I promise to honor you always, to respect your traditions, to stand by your side in all things. His voice was steady. She noticed his hands didn't shake even though 50th weapons pointed at him from around the room, even though he was surrounded by people who had been enemies weeks ago. When the ceremony ended, they were married. The witnesses clapped politely. It sounded hollow. Bear Jeans fought with 51 these lovely and 100 activations and 100% ed and 100 and 100 and 100 and 100 and 100 and 100. Afterward, there was a brief reception. Jin stood beside her new husband while officials from both sides offered congratulations that nobody meant. She watched Taeyong carefully. He smiled and thanked everyone. He made small talk. He showed no fear, no anger, no resentment. Was he truly this calm, or just very good at hiding his feelings? Finally, they were escorted to a transport ship. Their destination was Threshold 9, a border world halfway between human and space. They would live there as symbols of the peace, a reminder to both sides that the war was over. The journey took 6 hours. They sat in separate sections of the ship. Hijin was grateful for the distance. She needed time to think. When they arrived at their new residence, the building was nice enough. Human and Velray architects had worked together to create something that honored both cultures. The rooms were spacious. Furnishings were comfortable. It was a gilded cage, but still a cage. Your quarters are here, Tessa said, showing her to a bedroom. Mine are across the hall. You have complete privacy. She looked at him sharply. You don't expect? No, he said quickly. This marriage is political. That night, Jun lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling. In the next room, she could hear Taeyang moving around making tea. From the sound of it, some human ritual involving hot water and dried leaves. A knock came at her door. Yes, I made tea, Taeyang said. Through the door. I thought you might like some. It helps me relax after difficult days. She almost refused, but curiosity made her open the door. He stood there holding a tray with 2 cups. Steam rose from both. It's called green tea, he said. Nothing fancy. They sat in the common room. The tea was bitter but not unpleasant. Taeyang asked her about her home world, about the crystal forests of Velratha Prime, about her family. He listened carefully to every answer. Why are you being kind? She finally asked. He looked surprised. Why wouldn't I be? We're strangers. Forced together, you could hate me. I could, he agreed, but hate takes energy. I'd rather spend that energy trying to make this work. He paused. We're both trapped in this situation. We might as well be trapped comfortably. Despite herself, Hijin almost smiled. Almost. When she returned to her room that night, she felt confused. She had expected a brute or a fool. Instead, she found someone calm and thoughtful, someone who spoke her language and respected her space. It made everything harder. Somehow she could have hated a monster. But what was she supposed to do with kindness? 3 months passed on Threshold 9, and Hijin found herself watching her husband more carefully each day. Taeyong worked at the diplomatic center in the city. Every morning he woke before dawn. She could hear him moving through the residence. Quiet as a shadow, sometimes she would peek through her door and see him in the common room sitting perfectly still. He called it meditation, but his breathing was too controlled, his posture too precise. It looked more like training than relaxation. He never mentioned it, never explained. After an hour he would make breakfast and leave for work. Hygiene had less to do. Her role was mostly symbolic. Attend ceremonies, smile for cameras, show the galaxy that Orthe Princess and her human husband lived peacefully together. It was boring work, but it gave her time to study tea. She noticed things. One morning, a ceiling panel came loose during a small tremor. The metal plate, easily 200 lb, fell toward the breakfast table. Taeyong reached up without looking and caught it. One-handed, he held it steady, then carefully set it aside. Are you all right? He asked Hyejin, concerned only for her. She stared at his hand. Velra were stronger than humans. This human had just caught 200 lb like it was nothing with one hand while eating toast. How did you do that? She asked. He looked at the panel, then at his hand, as if just realizing what had happened. Exercise regularly. That wasn't an answer, but he changed the subject quickly, asking about her plans for the day. She noticed other things. Supply deliveries came weekly, heavy crates of food and equipment. Usually the delivery team included 6 Velra workers using powered lifts. One day the lifts broke down. Hyejin watched from the window as Taeyang helped them. He picked up crates that the workers struggled with. As a team, he carried 3 at once. The Velra workers stared at him with wide eyes. Later she asked him about it. You're stronger than you look, she said carefully. I stay active, he replied. Always the same type of non-answer. At his work, Taeyong was good at what he did. She attended some of his meetings. Human settlers and merchants would come to him with problems, land disputes, trade disagreements, cultural misunderstandings. He listened to everyone patiently. He asked questions. He found solutions that made both sides happy. The officials posted on Threshold 9 treated him with barely hidden contempt. They saw his patience as weakness, his soft voice as cowardice. Ambassador W. Shik was the worst. He was young for his position, promoted because his family had connections. He drank too much and talked too loud. At diplomatic functions, he would make jokes about humans being fragile, about Taeyong being unworthy of a princess. Taeyong never responded. He would smile politely and walk away. This seemed to make one Shik angrier. Everything changed one evening. Hyejin was hosting a small gathering at their residence. A handful of officials and their human counterparts, an attempt at building friendships between the species. It was going well enough until W. Shik arrived. Drunk, he stumbled through the door, reeking of fermented kellos. His eyes were unfocused, his words slurred. Princess, he called out too loudly. Hosting another party for your pet human. Taeyong moved to intercept him. Ambassador W. Shik, perhaps you should rest. I can call a transport. Don't tell me what to do, human. W. Shik pushed past him. He walked straight to Hyejin, invading her space. You know, if they had married you to a real male Orthe warrior, think of the strong children you could have had. Instead, you're stuck with this weakling. Hyejin felt her face flush with anger. But Before she could speak, one Shik reached for her arm. Taeyang was suddenly between them. Hijin hadn't seen him move. One moment he was 3 steps away, the next he was blocking one Shik and LT Uncan GT's path. Step back, Taeyang said. Quietly, one Shik laughed. He was 8 feet tall, his body covered in natural armor, plating that made Valray so difficult to harm. He outweighed Taeyang by at least 200 lb. Make me little human. One Shik shoved Taeyang's chest with both hands. It was the kind of push that should have sent a human flying across the room. Taeyang didn't move. He stood completely still, as if one Shik had pushed a wall. The room went silent. Every conversation stopped. Everyone turned to watch. Wick and LT Uncan GT's eyes widened in confusion. He shoved again, harder. Taeyang remained perfectly still. His feet didn't slide. His body didn't lean. Nothing. How? One Shik started to say. Taeyang caught Wick and LT Uncan GT's wrist. It looked gentle, but Wick and LT Uncan GT's face twisted in pain. He tried to pull away. He couldn't. Taeyang held him effortlessly. You need to leave, Tessa said. His voice was still quiet, still calm, but something had changed in his eyes. They were hard now, cold now. He released one Shik's wrist. The Ratha ambassador stumbled backward, clutching his arm. He looked at Taeyang with fear and confusion. Then he turned and practically ran from the residence. Party ended quickly after that. The guests made polite excuses and left. Soon Hijin and Taeyang were alone. What just happened? She asked. Taeyang was making tea again. His hands were steady, but she could see tension in his shoulders. I'm sorry you had to see that. You stopped him. One Chick is twice your size and you didn't even move. He was drunk and being inappropriate. I couldn't let him touch you. That's not what I'm asking. She walked closer. Taeyang, what are you? He was quiet for a long moment. The teak kettle whistled. He poured water into 2 cups, watching the leaves swirl. I wasn't always a diplomat, he finally said. Before this, I served in the Terran Defense Forces. The war was difficult. I saw things I wish I hadn't. Did things I wish I could forget. You were a soldier, yes, but you're so gentle, so patient. He smiled sadly. That's exactly why I chose this path. I've seen enough violence. I wanted to spend the rest of my life building peace instead of destroying it. Haijin sat down across from him. There's more. You're not telling me. There is, he admitted, but I'm not ready to share it all yet. Is that all right? She wanted to push, wanted to demand answers, but something in his eyes stopped her. Pain, old and deep. For now, she said that night she lay awake thinking. Her husband was not what he seemed. He was stronger than any human should be, faster than any human could be. He moved like a trained warrior, but spoke like a poet. The humans had sent him as a peace offering, but what kind of peace offering came with so much hidden power? She realized something that made her skin cold. The humans had known exactly who they were sending. This wasn't an insult. This was a message. They had married her to someone who could protect her from anything or destroy anything that threatened her. The question was, why? The attack came on a quiet morning. Hijin was reading in the garden when the first explosion shook the city. She looked up and saw smoke rising from the spaceport. Alarm started wailing across threshold. 9 Tiang ran outside, already pulling on a jacket. Stay inside, he said. Lock the doors. What's happening? Pirates. The Crash, he was checking something on his wrist device. The security force is scrambling, but the crash brought warships. This is bad. The crash marauders were famous across the border regions. They attacked isolated colonies and stations, stealing anything valuable and killing anyone who resisted. They were brutal and efficient. How many? Hijin asked. Reports say 3 ships, maybe 200 fighters. Talong was typing rapidly on his device. The garrison here only has 50 soldiers. They're calling for reinforcements, but help won't arrive for hours. Another explosion closer this time. The windows rattled. I need to go, Taeyang said. I can help evacuate civilians to the shelters. You're a diplomat, not a soldier. He looked at her and she saw that hard expression again, the one that appeared when Wan Shik had threatened her. I'm whatever I need to be, please. Hijin locked the doors. He left before she could argue. Hjun did lock the doors, but she couldn't just hide. She went to the communications room and accessed the security feeds. What she saw made her blood cold. The crash were pushing through the city like a wave. The small security force fought hard, but they were overwhelmed. Buildings burned. People ran through the streets. The pirates moved methodically, breaking into homes and dragging people out. She found Tong on one camera. He was helping people reach an underground shelter. He moved quickly, carrying children, supporting the elderly. Even during an attack, he was gentle with them. Then the feed cut out. Hijin tried other cameras. Most were offline. The few that worked showed chaos, fire, and smoke everywhere. She heard sounds at the front door, heavy impacts. Someone was trying to break in. Her heart raced. She grabbed the ceremonial knife from her belt. It was mostly decorative, but it had a real blade. She moved toward the door, ready to defend herself. The door exploded. Inward, 5 crushed soldiers stormed in. Weapons raised. They were reptilian creatures, scales covering their bodies, eyes like yellow slits. One of them, larger than the others with a scarred face, seemed to be the leader, Princess Hijin. The leader said in Ruffy, "We are honored. You'll bring a fine ransom." "Stay back," she warned, raising her knife. They laughed. The leader, Jiu, according to the markings on his armor, gestured to his soldiers, "Take her, try not to damage her too much." 3 soldiers moved toward her. Hijin had some combat training, as all Velra nobles did. She managed to cut one soldier's arm before they overwhelmed. Her strong hands grabbed her wrists. She struggled, but there were too many. "Let me go," she shouted. "Bind her," Jiu ordered. "We need to move before." What? Everyone turned. Taeyang stood in the doorway. His clothes were dirty, torn in places. There was blood on his hands, though Hjin couldn't tell if it was his. Jiu studied him. A human, her husband, I assume. How romantic. Step aside, human. This doesn't concern you. She's my wife, Taeyang said quietly. Everything concerning her concerns me. Let her go. Mine are. Jiu laughed. We are 12 soldiers. You are 1 unarmed human. Move or die with her. More crush. Soldiers entered behind Taeyang. He was surrounded, completely outnumbered. I really hoped it wouldn't come to this, Taeyang whispered. Then he moved. Hey. Jin had never seen anything like it. Taeyang became a blur. The first 3 soldiers fell before they could even aim their weapons. He took the gun from one and used it to block shots from another. His movements were impossible, too fast, too precise. Jiu roared and fired his plasma rifle. The bright bolts shot across the room at point-blank range. They should have burned holes through Taeyong instead. Something shimmered in the air around him, a magnetic shield projected from the device on his wrist, the plasma. Bolts deflected harmlessly. The remaining soldiers attacked together. Taeyong moved between them like water. Flowing through rocks, he used their own weapons against them, used their momentum to throw them into each other. One soldier tried to stab him with a knife. Taeyong caught the blade between his palms, yanked it away, and struck the soldier in the chest. The crash flew backward and didn't get up. In less than 30 seconds, 11 soldiers lay unconscious or groaning on the floor. Only Jai Wu remained standing, the crash leader, back toward the door, his eyes wide with terror. What are you? Taeyong walked toward him slowly. Someone who wanted to leave that life behind. Someone who just wanted peace. Jiu turned to run. Taeyong was suddenly in front of him. Heijin hadn't even seen him move. It was like he had teleported. You threatened my wife, Taeyong said. His voice was cold, empty of all its usual warmth. You broke into our home. You put your hands on her. I'm sorry, Jiu stammered. What I am doesn't matter. What you did does. Taeyong's fist moved almost too fast to see. It hit Jai Wu in the chest. The crash leader flew backward through the doorway and crashed into the street outside. He didn't get back up. Silence filled the residence. Taeyong stood there breathing heavily. Then he turned to Heijin. The hardness left his eyes. They became gentle again. Worried? Are you hurt? He asked. Rushing to her side, she stared at him. Her hands were shaking. What are you? He helped untie her wrists. His hands were gentle, careful not to hurt her. You fought 12 armed soldiers alone. You didn't even have a weapon at first. I had to protect you. How is any of that possible? He looked away. I'll explain everything, I promise, but first we need to make sure the city is secure. There might be more crash. Over the next few hours, the attack was repelled. The security forces, with unexpected help from Taesong, drove the pirates back to their ships. The crash retreated, taking heavy losses. The news spread quickly. Security footage showed one human defeating 12 armed pirates. The video went viral across both human and networks. Everyone wanted to know who this man was. Heijin watched the footage over and over. Each time she saw something new: the way Taeyong moved, the precision of his strikes, the controlled violence. This wasn't just a trained soldier. This was something else entirely. That evening, Taeyong sat with her in their damaged residence. Repair crews were already working on the door. I need the truth, Heijin said. All of it, no more deflecting, no more half answers. He nodded slowly. You're right, you deserve to know. He took a deep breath. I'm not just a former soldier. I'm what humans call a reaper. Taeyong poured tea with steady hands, but Heijin could see the weight in his shoulders. He was preparing to share something he had kept hidden for a long time. A reaper, she repeated. What does that mean? When humans first went to space, we encountered species like yours. Stronger, faster, better armored. In a fair fight, we would lose every time. He stared into his tea. So we decided not to fight fair. You developed weapons. We developed something better. We developed us. He looked up at her. The Reaper program was humanity's most classified military project. They took volunteers, soldiers who were willing to Sacrifice everything and they rebuilt. Us rebuilt nano machines. Millions of tiny machines smaller than blood cells. They rewrote us at the cellular level, changed our bones, our muscles, our nervous system, everything. He held up his hand, flexing his fingers. I can lift 50 tons without strain. My bones are denser than titanium. My reflexes operate faster than conscious thought. I can survive in vacuum for 10 minutes. I can process information like a computer. Hun felt cold. You're saying you're not human anymore. I'm still human. I still feel, think, dream like anyone else, but physically. He shook his head. They made us into weapons, living weapons that could fight entire armies alone. How many of you are there? Were he corrected softly. The program created 200 Reapers. We were deployed in the border wars, the conflicts before the recent one with your people. 50 of us fought against 500,000 enemy soldiers. 50 against 500,000. We won in 3 months. His voice was hollow. We destroyed armies. We took down warships from the inside. We were unstoppable. He paused. We were also dying inside. Every kill, every battle, it took pieces of our humanity away. We were becoming the weapons they made us to be instead of the people we used to be. Jin tried to process this. Gentleman who made her tea and asked about her day was a living weapon. Creation designed for mass destruction. What happened after the war? The politicians were terrified of what they had created. 200 super soldiers with no war to fight. They saw us as a threat, so they offered us a choice. His jaw tightened after Saul's side. One side, also 1,000 die in classified accidents or disappear into civilian life with our identity sealed, new names, new backgrounds, as far as the galaxy would. No, the Reapers were decommissioned and destroyed, but you're still alive. Some of us chose to live, most didn't. They couldn't handle what they had done. Couldn't live with the memories. Pain filled his eyes. 188 of my brothers and sisters chose death, last I knew. Only 12 of us remained, scattered across human space, trying to be normal people. And they married me to you. He nodded. When the peace treaty was being negotiated, someone in human intelligence had an idea. Send a Reaper as the groom. It would serve 2 purposes. First, you would be protected by someone who could defend you from any threat. Second, it would send a message to your empire. What message? That there are more of us, that we could be anywhere, that starting another war might mean facing us again. He looked directly at her. I didn't want to be part of that message. I wanted to leave that life behind. But they made it clear I could accept this assignment or I could join my dead comrades. Hygiene stood and walked to the window. Outside, repair crews worked. In the damaged streets, smoke still rose from buildings hit in the attack. So this marriage, everything, it was all strategy at first, yes, but Jin, he stood and walked closer. These months with you, they've been real. Getting to know you, learning about your culture, making a life together, that wasn't strategy. That was me trying to find something good in a situation neither of us wanted. She turned to face him. Can you even die? If someone shot you, would you survive? I can die. I'm extremely hard to kill, but not invincible. Enough damage, and the nano-M machines can't repair me fast enough. He paused. I've been injured before. It just heals quickly. Show me what your strength, your abilities I need to see what you really are. They went to the training facility attached to the diplomatic center. It was late evening and the building was empty. Taeyang led her to the weight room. What can a normal human lift? She asked. Strong human male, maybe 200 lb, maybe 300 if trained. And you? He walked to the weight machine. It was designed for Rothai with weights measured in thousands of pounds. He set it to maximum 20,000 lb, then he lifted it smoothly, repeatedly like it weighed nothing. Hijin watched in silence. Next he showed her his speed, moving through an obstacle course faster than her eyes could track, hitting training dummies with strikes that dented the reinforced metal. The reflexes are the strangest part, he said. Time doesn't move slower, I just process it faster. In combat I can see attacks coming and respond before my opponent finishes moving the shield. He activated the device on his wrist. Shimmering field appeared around him. Magnetic shield, it deflects energy. Weapons, bullets and blades still work. But I'm fast enough to avoid those. Usually. She felt overwhelmed. This wasn't just enhanced strength or speed, this was something beyond anything she had imagined. Why tell me all this now? Because you deserve the truth, and because he deactivated the shield. The video from the raid is everywhere. People are asking questions. Your father's intelligence service will investigate. They'll figure out what I am soon enough, as if summoning them with his words. Tessa and LT Unk and GT's communication device beeped. He checked it and his face went pale. What is it? A message from the Velray Embassy. Your father has requested that we return to the Imperial capital immediately. He looked at her. They know Heijin, or they've guessed enough. They want to interrogate me about human military capabilities. You could refuse. I could, but that would make things worse. Your empire would assume we're hiding more. They might restart the war. Jin felt a decision point approaching. Her father would want her to extract information from Taeyang, to learn about the Reapers, about human military secrets. It was her duty to her empire, but Taeyang had protected her, had been kind to her when he didn't have to be, had shown her a life where strength didn't mean violence. We and LT Unk and GT LL go together, she said. But Taeyang, you need to understand something. My father is not a patient man. The War Council will see you as a threat. They may try to eliminate you or capture you for study. I know you're not afraid. He smiled sadly. I've been afraid every day since I became a Reaper. Fear of what I am. Fear of what I might do. Fear of never being normal. Again he looked at her. But I'm not afraid of your father's council. The question is, what will you do when we get there? She didn't have an answer. The Imperial Palace of Prime rose like a mountain from the crystal forests. Jin had grown up in these halls, but they felt different now, cold, threatening. She walked beside Taeyang through corridors lined with guards. Every soldier watched her husband with suspicious eyes. They had all seen the video. They all knew what he had done to the Crash Pirates. Emperor Xiang Ho waited in the War Council chamber. The room was vast, with a long table surrounded by military leaders and advisors. Admiral Bo Ra stood at attention near the Emperor. She was the head of Rothai intelligence, sharp-minded and ruthless. Daughter, the Emperor said as John entered. His voice was formal, distant, and Tay, welcome home. They both bowed. Taeyang showed no fear. No nervousness. He stood calm and relaxed as if attending a casual meeting. Let's not waste time with pleasantries, Bora said. She activated a holographic display, the video of Taeyong fighting. The pirates played in the center of the room. This is your husband, princess. One human defeating 12 armed soldiers in under a minute. We need to know how. Unground Tae, I'm willing to answer your questions, Taeyong said. How generous. Bora froze the video on an image of Taeyong deflecting plasma bolts. Our scientists analyzed this footage. The shield technology is advanced but not unprecedented. Your speed and strength, however, exceed anything we thought humans capable of. Explain, Taeyong told them about the Reaper program. He explained the nano-M machines, the enhancements, the capabilities. He answered every question directly, and honestly, the room grew quieter with each answer. How many of these Reapers still exist? Bora asked. Approximately 12 as far as I know, but I've been out of contact with the program for years. There could be more or fewer by now. Where are they? I don't know. That was the point. We disappeared. Bora turned to the Emperor. This changes everything. We were told the humans had decommissioned their enhanced soldiers. Instead, they've hidden them in civilian populations. They could be anywhere, in embassies, on colony ships, in diplomatic positions. Like marrying one to my daughter, Zhang Ho said coldly. It was meant as protection, Taeyong said, and as a gesture of trust. I came unarmed, alone to marry into your family. That's not the action of someone preparing for war, or it's the perfect infiltration strategy, Bora countered. She brought up more data. We've been analyzing human military movements since the peace treaty. Small anomalies, single individuals defeating groups of pirates, hostage situations resolved impossibly quickly, security footage that shows humans moving too fast or lifting too much. She looked at Taeyong. You're not the only Reaper in a position where you can influence galactic events, are you? I genuinely don't know where the others are, but you admit they exist. You admit humanity has hidden super soldiers across the galaxy, and we have no way of identifying them. They're not soldiers anymore. There are people trying to live quiet lives. Bora slammed her hand on the table. A weapon doesn't stop being a weapon just because it's not being used. Emperor, we were tricked. The humans manipulated us into this treaty while keeping their greatest weapons hidden and active. We must respond. What do you suggest? Xing Ho asked. We strike first, launch a coordinated attack on human military installations. We eliminate the threat before they can activate these Reapers against us. That would mean war, Hijin said. It was the first time she had spoken since entering the room. Yes, Bora agreed, but a war on our terms, not theirs. Taeyong stepped forward. If you attack humanity, you will force us back into the role we tried to leave behind. Every Reaper will answer the call to defend our people. We don't want to fight. Please don't make us. Is that a threat? Songho asked quietly. It's a promise and a plea. Taeyong's voice was steady but sad. I've killed enough. All of us have. We chose peace. We chose civilian lives. We became teachers, doctors, farmers, diplomats. We're not your enemy unless you make us one. Hijin made her decision. She walked to the center of the room and removed her royal insignia, the silver band that marked her as a princess of the imperial house. She set it on the table. What are you doing? Her Father demanded, making a choice. She looked at him directly. If the Empire chooses war, I choose Tessing. I choose peace. You would betray your people for a human. I would refuse to betray someone who has been nothing but honorable. She gestured to Tessa. You all see a weapon, a threat. I've lived with him for months. I've seen what he does with his power. He grows gardens. He mediates disputes. He makes tea and asks about my day. He had the strength to kill the crush pirates easily, but he didn't. He subdued them because he values life. She turned to address the entire council. We call humans primitive. We mock them for being weaker than us, but they're the ones who turned their ultimate weapons into gardeners and diplomats. They're the ones who offered peace through marriage instead of conquest. They gave us someone who could destroy armies but chose to make breakfast. Instead, her voice grew stronger. Maybe we're the primitive ones. Maybe true strength isn't about how much you can destroy, but about choosing not to. The chamber erupted with angry voices. Advisors shouted, officers argued, but Zhang Ho raised his hand for silence. You love him, the emperor said to his daughter. Hijin paused. She had not expected that question. I respect him. I trust him. Love. She glanced at Taeyang, who watched her with those gentle brown eyes. Perhaps I'm learning too. Song stood. I want to see for myself. Taeyang, you will demonstrate your abilities if you truly are what you claim. Show us what my daughter saw. They moved to the training arena beneath the palace. It was a vast space where warriors practiced combat. Bora ordered 12 of her best royal guards to the floor. They were elite soldiers, each one a veteran of multiple campaigns. Taeyang stood in the center, alone and unarmed. The rules are simple, Bora said. Defeat them all without harming them. Taeyang added, if you can. The guards attacked as one. They had weapons, armor, and overwhelming numbers. It should have been an easy victory. What followed was not a fight. It was a demonstration. Taeyang moved like water flowing between attacks. He disarmed the first guard without striking him, just removing the weapon. With a simple twist, the second guard charged with a spear. Taeyang sidestepped, used the guard's momentum to spin him into another soldier. Both fell in a tangled heap. The remaining guards tried different tactics: ranged weapons, coordinated strikes, grappling attempts. Nothing worked. Taeyang was always one step ahead. He didn't hurt them, he simply made it impossible for them to hurt him. He pinned weapons, redirected strikes, used their own force against them. Within 3 minutes, all 12 guards lay on the ground, disarmed and immobilized, but uninjured. Taeyang stood in the center, breathing normally, not even winded. I could have ended this in 3 seconds, he said quietly, looking at Sean Ho. I'm choosing not to. Every day I make that choice. All of us do. We're not weapons anymore. We're an LT Unk and GT, people who understand what true strength means. Zion Ho was silent for a long time. Finally he spoke. The treaty stands. It is now a true alliance. He looked at Bora. There will be no war if humanity has soldiers like this one who want only peace. Then they are the kind of people we should learn from, not fight. Emperor, this is a mistake. Bora started. Enough. I have decided. She Ho walked down to the arena. He stood before Taeyang. You protected my daughter during the raid. You came here knowing we might try to capture or kill you. You showed restraint when you could have shown destruction. These are the Actions of an honorable man, not a weapon. He turned to Hijin. Your insignia, daughter, she retrieved it from where she had left it. Zion Ho placed it back on her formally, restoring her status. Returned to Threshold 9, he said. Continue your work. In the years that followed, Hijin and Taeyong became symbols of the alliance. Threshold 9 grew from a border outpost into a thriving hub where humans and built lives together. They had children, daughters who inherited their mothers' 4 eyes and their father's gentle strength. The Reaper program was eventually declassified, and the surviving members were offered honored positions. Some accepted, most, like Tae, chose to remain in their quiet lives. Taeyong kept his garden. He taught mixed classes of human and Velroth children in martial arts, emphasizing discipline and control. He served tea to visitors and mediated disputes, but every ship captain who passed through Threshold 9 knew the truth. The quiet gardener with the gentle smile was the reason there was peace in the border systems. Not because of what he could do, but because of what he chose not to do. One evening, Hijin found him in the garden tending to his plants. Their daughters played nearby, their laughter filling the air. Do you miss it? She asked. The power. The importance. I have power, he said, gesturing to their daughters. I help create life. Instead of taking it, I build instead of destroy. This is more important than anything I did as a Reaper. My father asked me once if I loved you, she said. I didn't have an answer then, and now she took his hand. Now I do. I love the man who could move mountains but chooses to make tea, the warrior who became a gardener, the weapon who chose to be human. He smiled and kissed her forehead. That's all I ever wanted to be, just human, just enough above them. Human and Velroy ships traveled peacefully through shared space, and in a small garden on a border world, a family proved that the strongest power of all was the choice to be